Good morning and welcome to today's lesson where I want us to finalize on the different types of letters. Remember, we were able to define what a letter is or what we call a correspondence, which we said it is a written document written from one organization to another for purposes of business transactions. Okay, remember we also listed the features. Features are parts that are required to be put into consideration before we write a letter. We said all letters going outside the organization must have a or must be on a letterhead. A letterhead is just a letter that has got the address of the company where it is coming from. Okay, so all letters that goes outside our organization must all be written on a letterhead. So we spoke about the features. We said the letter should have a date, it should have a reference, it should have the name, the addressee's address, yeah. It should have the salutation. We said if it's an official letter, it should go to Dear Sirs, when you're referring to either as a man or a woman. It should also have a subject, it should have a body, it should also have the complimentary clause. Complimentary clause refers to as like yours faithfully, yours sincerely, etc. Okay, so we also spoke about the different so we want to speak about now the different types of letters. Okay, we've got a letter of inquiry. Now, a letter of inquiry is normally written from a company to a different organization making inquiries about certain things. Yeah, so a letter of inquiry is a letter written by a potential buyer. It is written by a potential buyer to a seller intending to establish a business relationship. Okay, so this kind of a letter, it gives the seller, when you're writing this kind of a letter, you need to give the person or the prospective seller, yeah, the source of information that you would want. For example, if you want to make an inquiry about certain products, so it is important for you to include that information. Okay, then you should also give a brief history about your company. You are assuming this seller doesn't know you. Therefore, it will be prudent for you to give an introduction about your company. Okay, so now the seller is able to understand who they are dealing with. Okay, yeah, so you give a general statement about the quantities, how many of these products. For example, if you want to buy stationery, or if you're making an inquiry about stationery, how many do you require? For example, you need A4 books. How many ruled? Maybe 2,000. Squared? 1,000. You need marker pens, 100 pieces. Dustboards. So you have to specify and give the quantities. Okay, then also let the prospective seller know or find out what are their terms of payment. Their suppliers who would want or who engage in perhaps a current check on delivery. The others who would allow you to give a post-dated check, which we said it is a check that has a date which has got earlier dates. Yeah, for example, if you gave out your goods today and you collected the check today, and the check is supposed to be a post-dated check for 30 days, it means the check will be written 30 days from today. So today being 17th, okay, sorry, 18th. Today being 17th, it means the check will be dated 17th of July. So that means the check will be deposited on 17th July 2020. Okay, that's what you call a post-dated checks. Now, this information, the prospective buyer would want to find out from the prospective seller, what are their terms? Do they deliver? Yeah, do they charge for delivery? etc, etc. So once the other party receives the letter of inquiry, they are going to respond back. Now, when they respond back, that letter, we call it a quotation letter. A quotation letter. Why is it a quotation letter? Because they are replying, to give us a quote or to give us prices or information about what we had asked in the letter of inquiry. Okay, so now what happens is, when the prospective buyer sends a letter of inquiry, the prospective seller replies with a quotation letter. Now, a quotation letter will indicate acknowledgement of the letter of inquiry. Okay, they will give you the prices of the commodities or the items that you had inquired for. They will also give discount. They will also give information about discount that they offer. They will also give information about the terms of payment, delivery, etc, etc. Okay, so when they have sent that, they can also include, or they can also enclose a catalog or a price list. So a price list is a list of all the items the prospective seller is selling. Okay, so once they have sent that quotation letter to us, we are going to go through the list. We're going to go through the pricing. We are going to go through the terms, their terms, and take note, when you're sending a letter of inquiry, you send it to several companies. Why? Because you have to do something called a comparison. So you cannot just rely on one letter of inquiry. So you normally send to different suppliers or to different prospective seller, because you're hoping that you will have a variety to choose from. Okay, so it is important to make sure that you inquire from as many companies or as many suppliers as possible. So out of the so many letters that you are going to have received, you will look at them. You will identify, this one has got a discount, this one doesn't have, this one doesn't offer, this one doesn't. So you'll have a comparison of different items and different prices. So once you're contended with one particular supplier, you're going to respond back. Now, when you're responding back, what kind of a letter are you sending? You're going to send a letter of order, an order letter. Now, an order letter confirms or gives the go-ahead to the prospective seller that you are interested to do business with them, and that you want them to deliver certain goods. Okay, so that's what we call the order letter. Okay, so you give them the quantities of the items you want delivered, and of course you have to quote the price, and maybe you also have to indicate where you want these items delivered. Okay, so that's what we call an order letter. Okay, so let's say when you're delivering this good, something happened in between. Maybe there are some things that you did not supply. Okay, or there's some items that you supplied, but when they reached the customer, they were damaged. Okay, so what happens? Or actually, not now, it's not even a prospective. The customer now is going to write a letter. After having received the goods, the customer is going to write a letter in case there were issues. He or she is going to write a letter about a complaint. Yeah, complaint is just trying to acknowledge that they received the goods, however the goods were not of expected quality. Yeah, they were damaged. Okay, yeah, they were incomplete, so they can give various reasons for them to reject the goods. So a letter of complaint is written by a customer to a supplier complaining or giving an idea about, or giving information about goods that were delivered that were not of standards. Okay, then after that, after the customer has written that letter to the supplier will go through the delivery note. Now the delivery note is normally signed from the other side, yeah, and once it is signed, a copy of that is also returned to the supplier. So they will go through their delivery and try to find out what the issue could have been. Yeah, if goods were delivered, if goods were damaged, or if goods were of substandard quality, so the supplier will try to find out what could have caused that problem, and what they will do, they will respond. Okay, they will respond to the letter of complaint from the customer. So once they've sent that complaint, once they respond to that letter, they will give their reasons of what could have caused that kind of a problem. And when they give the reasons, they also give a solution, because a customer is expecting you to act. Don't just say, yes, it was a problem. Yes, no. You have to acknowledge there was a problem. After that, what is the solution to that problem? Okay, yeah. So now let's assume this customer, the goods were delivered and they didn't have any problem. So what happens? So once the goods have been delivered, in case you had agreed on a certain mode of payment, that payment has to be done. In case the payment is delayed, the supplier can write back and ask for a letter of a demand, a collection letter. Okay, so let's say we had agreed with this customer that you deliver the goods on 17th, and we'll give you a post-dated check for 30 days. So that's 17th of July. Now 17th of July has reached, and the check that we were supposed to have deposited into our account, you have called us and told us not to deposit the check. So what happens? We have to wait. So as you continue waiting, you're not giving us any information. Maybe it's past 2 weeks and you have not told us anything. So as a supplier, I can write back to make an inquiry about the payment. What's the status of our payment? What are the issues that you're going through? Maybe you should let us know. Okay, yeah. So now that completes the sales process, the sales letters. Okay, remember we also said we have now other personal letters. Now personal letters is a letter that is normally written by an applicant, by somebody who is seeking to look for a job. Okay, one day when you have finished your studies, you will start looking for a job. So when you're looking for a job, you don't walk into somebody's office and knock and say you want a job. No. Okay, you have to make an application. You have to make a formal application. Sometimes you could see an advertisement on the newspaper. So you don't walk into that company saying, I saw an advertisement and I'm coming to look for a job. No. You have to make a letter, or what we call a letter of application. So what's an application letter? What are some of the contents of an application letter? Is that you have to indicate, for example, if there was an advertisement that was placed in the newspaper, it is important for you to quote the source of information. For example, this advert was in the newspaper. Today is 17th, so maybe it was there last week. So you have to say, in response to your advertisement dated 10th June 2020 in the daily newspaper. You also have to quote where you saw that advertisement. If it was in the website, you have to quote your source of information. Okay, so you have to give details about yourself. You have to give a brief introduction about yourself. So when you're doing this, don't start saying, I am a man aged. No. The issue of your gender doesn't come in. Talk about yourself. I am a skilled worker, having been trained at KIPS Technical College in certificate in secretarial studies. Talk about yourself. Okay, talk about yourself. Talk about how that job will help you. Okay, so give a brief statement about your educational background, about your college. When you talk about education, you're talking about your last professional career, your last career. What you're studying now is your last professional career. Not last, but that is what you get, because that's currently what you have studied last. Okay, talk about your experience. If you've had worked before, talk about how many years of experience you've had before. Okay, talk about your availability. Availability means how soon are you able to take up the job. So here is where you say, I'm available after 2 weeks, I'm available immediately, or I'm available after 1 month, depending with what you are currently doing. Okay, so make sure you indicate all that information in an application letter. Okay, then we have other letters. We have got maybe once you've gotten a job, you will also, once you've applied and perhaps you go for an interview and you're successful, now that company that is going to hire you will give you another letter called an offer letter. Now, an offer letter will tell you about your salary, when you shall be starting to work, your working hours, your duties, your responsibilities, etc., etc. So as you continue working, maybe you get another opportunity to look for another job. Then fortunately, you manage to get another job. So what happens? You have to send a resignation letter. Now, a resignation letter is written by you as the employee, stating that you plan to stop working from this time. So you're giving the company enough notice for them either to look for somebody else or to be able to be aware that you plan to leave. Okay, so in case now they accept your resignation letter and you're able to serve your notice, you're now able to leave at the expiry of your notice. So while you are still at work, let's assume now you have not even looking for another job, while you're still at work, you got a chance to go back to school and advance your career. So what happens? You also got a promotion. So after you've gotten an offer letter and you continue working in that organization and you go back to school and you get other qualifications and there's another position in the organization, you can apply for a promotion. Okay, now when you apply for a promotion, there's that availability of that position that is vacant, you could be considered. So there's also a promotion letter that is normally given to you. So maybe you have to go through another interview, but now this is an internal interview, and if you're successful, your HR will give you a promotional letter. Okay, for example, as you continue working, maybe you have issues, you're not performing your duties very well, you have issues, and the company feels that they cannot continue keeping you. There's a letter we call a dismissal letter, okay, which you receive from your employer telling you that they plan to terminate your contract due to various reasons. So we've got all these kind of letters that are very important for you to be able to know them, and also to be able for you to be able to write them. Okay, so what I will do in the next in the next lesson, I will post examples of those letters that I have mentioned, even though I had posted a few, but I will also give more examples on those letters. Otherwise, I wish you a very good day. Take care of yourself, and bye for now.